So I'm getting somewhere as a saxophone soloist in the New York studio scene, and I go and I do a record date for a guy named Ron Fair, who was a record exec at EMI, and he ended up going on to run several different record companies. But at that time, he was a producer, and there was a band called Roxette, which had a little moment of popularity in the early '90s. So he calls me to do a solo. I go in. I play the solo. We craft the solo in that same way, right? So over the course of a half hour, 40 minutes, we craft something that's good. Everybody's happy with it. Then he says to me, "Can you double that?" So from my perspective, and I think you feel the same way, that's easy. We just wrote it. It's all in my brain, right? Like I'm just, yeah, that's simple. I'm going to put it right back out. We just, for him, that was the most amazing thing in the world. Somehow that I was able to do that, like create that double tracked sound that people like in one pass. And more or less, like he knew who I was. We had worked together before, but he had no idea if I wrote songs or wanted to be a solo artist or anything. Gives me a record deal on EMI.
Wow.
On the basis of that. So again, crazy. You got people like demos and working and connecting and calling and all this, right? This guy, Ron Baer, thank you, Ron, offers me a record deal based on this experience recording me as a soloist. And anyway, so that gets into place. It starts up. Before it can get anywhere, EMI is reorganized and drops all sorts of artists, including yours truly. So now I've had a major label record deal, which produced nothing, really never even really started, and now I'm dropped. But because I had that record deal, a guy I went to college with named Matt Pearson, who went on to be very successful he was running Warner Brothers at that time. He was a young guy that he wasn't running it, but he had an A&R job at Warner Brothers, and I had gone to college with him at Miami. He was a trumpet player. He ended up continuing to be successful as a producer and record executive. But he heard about me being signed to EMI. He knew me, so he came around and was like, what's going on? What are you doing? What's this all about? As a result of that, he signed me to Warner Brothers.
Wow.
Craziness. I'm saying. It's legitimate craziness.
Right? Just never know what connections, what networking will lead down the road.
You never know. But I feel guilty about it in the sense that I wasn't trying to get a record deal. And there I am with a record deal and on a big record label. So the Warner Brothers thing did come to fruition, and I did make 2 albums there, and that's what started it all off. And those records were successful at radio. They were not successful in terms of sales in the way that the expectations that they had at Warner Brothers, in line with the kind of budget that they gave me, which you would never see in a zillion years these days, right? That whole thing is over. So I make 5 records for what they gave me in those days. Now, wow. four maybe. But that's how that happened. So now I had these couple records out, and I was like, well, okay, that's fun. I do like it. I do like writing, and I like making production records. Like, I like the process. This is another thing that we really didn't touch on, but another way that Dave Mann and I have similarities. Like, I was interested in synthesis, and I was interested in MIDI. I was interested in these things at their birth point, kind of early to mid '80s. So I've been interested in that the whole way. I was interested in Pro Tools when that first happened. So I've been that person all the way along, and I've been interested in making tracks and sort of starting and executing ideas through technology. So that all that kind of coalesced with this crazy random good luck, in the record deal arena to lead me here, right?
And so many of the subsequent albums that you made, did you make it initially all yourself and then market it to companies?
So it kind of went. It kind of went in. I would say it paralleled what happened to the jazz record business. So my first two were on a big label, and then more or less all the big labels got out of the jazz business by the late '90s, early 2000s, more or less. And then I did a couple on smaller labels on indies, and then I realized at some point that I was giving away all of the rights. Now we're back to businessman stuff. So I was giving away all of the ownership of this creative output for a very small advance. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to pay for it myself because it's now I can, both because I've been successful and also because it's much cheaper to make an album. Technology has changed that game. I can do a lot of it at home. You don't have to book a recording studio, like an expensive recording studio, for every single step of this process. So since Traveler well, that's not true. Traveler and the Rhythm were for an indie, but a licensing deal. And I ended up, getting that ownership. I retained that ownership and got the licensing part of it back. But so really since Traveler, I've owned them. I pay for them. I own them. I market them. If there's press, I pay for it. If there's a radio promoter, I pay for it.
Very important information for younger players today who are desirous of being recording artists, and certainly it seems to me, just sort of summarizing a little bit, first of all, your innate business sense that you honed at NYU with the MBA, plus your desire to understand the new technology and become facile with it, gives you that combination, plus obviously the music and the musical, gives you that ability to work with all of these talents and all of this knowledge, so that maybe a young person going to a music school today should really think about taking business courses and taking courses in technology and be at anything and everything you can to just expose yourself to this world where a lot of the degree program requirements might not necessitate that.
Right. So, I think that's absolutely wise advice. I would insert into that, if you have any kind of ability with tech, right? If you resonate with tech in any way, absolutely, that should be part of what part of your study and part of your overview. There are some people that, in the same way that if I had to fix, my house, if I had to spackle and, fix a wall in my house, it would be a disaster. Some people that are not positioned to be tech friendly,
Right.
then maybe it's a different conversation. But most of us are not in that lane. Most of us are reasonably facile with it or talented at it, and should definitely be in your equation. And even more so, the legal and ownership parts of this business, the way copyright works, the way metadata works in this world of streaming, you definitely want to understand that. You definitely. So in my case, yes, I'm able to pay for the records out of my own pocket, and that's part of the equation. But that becomes more and more available to more and more people. So as a result of that, there's nothing in between me and my Spotify revenue. There's nothing in between me and my Sirius XM radio revenue. And yeah, so if you're not established yet, it's a bit of a gamble. But nonetheless, I mean, let me rephrase that. Whatever you decide to do, knowing how all this stuff works is essential, because that's the future of music, and the future of the music business is metadata attached to content, and where that content goes in the digital world is going to be the story of your revenue.
Absolutely. While I was teaching in higher ed for about 15 years, I taught a music business course. And looking back at it, there's very little of that information that is now pertinent or
Right,
applicable,
right.
looking back from an historical perspective. But that's the nature of the music business, that it's always going to be changing, and rapidly so. Uh, Obviously, the one thing that doesn't change is the ability to be a wonderful player and to be knowledgeable musically. That has to be solid. There cannot be any deviation from that. Doesn't mean that everybody who's successful is that, but I think as a piece of advice, uh, the ability to play your instrument, to create on your instrument, to compose, arrange, all of that really has to be spoken for, hands down, before we deal with anything else.
Yes.
But if one thinks about going to a conservatory, as it had been traditional in the 20th century, just going through that and thinking, okay, now I'm ready to work for the rest of my career, not going to happen anymore. On any level, in any style of music. I mean, you have to be that much more aware of the total spectrum and aware of the industry. And that's something certainly Miami and Eastman were really at the forefront. New England came on board later on. Those conservatories really emphasized the music business and gave their students an opportunity to explore that.
Right.
Uh, and there are still too many music schools and conservatories that do not do that. And if
Yeah. I mean, so in our world, I'm kind of known as that guy, right? Like the guy that has knows this information, whether it's about metadata from my own content or about neighboring rights, international neighboring rights as a sideman, or the how the pension fund is operating or whatever else. But in my view, it'd be great if everybody could be a little bit more like that. It's to your benefit. It really is to your benefit. And I'm always sort of surprised that, I mean, it's nice, it's flattering, but people kind of look at me in that way, like, oh, I don't know much about that, but he does, so I'll ask him some question, or I think of him that way. And really, the more you can be that person, and the more you can have information at your disposal in these ways, like, you're going to be so much better off
yes,
in your career, in
yeah,
your
it's just a win.
professional life. So
It's a win-win. I mean, the more knowledge you have, the more knowledge you have. It's
yeah, yeah.
uh, and well, just veering off. What other hobbies do you have? Besides being this person so knowledgeable in business and facile with technology and a gifted saxophonist, what hobbies do you have on the side or that you deal with when you're home?
I like to cook. I'm, halfway decent at it. I'm athletic, so I like fitness. I do that. I used to be a pretty good tennis player. haven't been out in the court as much as I'd like to be lately, so I don't really know what the state of that is, to be honest with you. Um, but those are kind of the major areas, and I love art museums. I mean, that's great. Being on the road, every time I'm in Chicago, and I can go to the Art Institute of Chicago, for instance, like that. That's an amazing bonus of the traveling thing, right?
Yeah,
Assuming you have a little off time, right? That you're
right.
not just humping it every day. But
Yeah, well, that's true, especially when you go through major cities. All major cities have something, whether it's an art institution, whether it's certain clubs or certain studios, art studios to go
yeah,
to, restaurants to explore unique.
yeah, yeah. I love that part of it. I love that part of it.
Yeah,
But I don't have like I'm not. I know there are people in our business that are good musicians and from my vantage point, very good artists. Like I don't have any of that. I have no like uh, super evident other talent. There are guys in our business that could build a house.
oh
Back
yeah.
to that subject, like,
Well,
I don't have any of that kind of thing.
yeah.
So so
But
so it goes, right?
just another side question, just off the top of my head, what are your reading interests? So what are you reading these days, or what things do you tend to read?
Um, I, you know, I like intelligent fiction. Uh, I like reading. Politics and national affairs and international affairs and history. I like that, but that's becoming just a challenging, you know, subject and dangerous subject. I mean, the truth of the matter is, I probably like I'm gonna say lately, like the last 5, 10 years, I'm not reading as much as I should be because somehow practice and to the making of these records, since they're production records, the number of hours that I spend putting these things together is like it's incalculable. Writing, setting up the MIDI version of the track, being the guy that's calling all the musicians to overdub, editing all the overdubs, pre-mixing, uh, finishing it, doing the metadata part, doing the artwork, doing the promotion, doing the press from print, whatever, verbal and print promotion and the radio promotion. It's all consuming. So as much as I love it, I get like I'm near the end of a new album, and it feels like just it's gone on forever and it's overwhelming, and you love it, but it's, I guess I'm saying it kind of takes all of your time. That and practice are taking all of my time, which I
Can you
guess is great, but
Yeah, well, I'm curious. Can you give us a little heads up on what this new album will be like and what it encompasses?
well, it's just further in my same lane. So it's sophisticated pop music, I would say, sophisticated jazz pop. It's groove rich and harmony rich, but atmospheric, kind of Euro vibes. Um, it's I think sort of my particular cocktail of things in this genre, if I'll allow myself that. I'm psyched about it because I normally at this point in the process of making an album like this, I hate at least half of it, and I don't think I'm wrong. Like I'm usually right about like I don't end up hating it in long view, but I'm usually right about the things that are actually good and the things that are sort of good or okay. This album, after listening to it for 100,000 hours, I kind of still like a lot of it, like almost all of it, and I'm taking that as a good sign.
Yeah.
So um, both from all perspectives, like the record making and the saxophone playing, and this is a whole other subject, but important, like the crafting of density of melody versus soloing in the context of pop music, like being able to show the true me, but not blow the thing up with too much improvising, right? Not distort that pop music setting by too much and too lengthy soloing. So that uh, that cocktail, that distribution on this album, I'm really psyched about. In the past, I felt like I didn't play enough. Like the tunes are cool, the tracks are super cool, the atmospheres, the grooves are cool. The performances are great from other musicians, but there's not enough of me soloing. And so particularly on that aspect, I'm very pumped about this new one. So
And are you playing all alto, tenor, and soprano on this album?
no soprano, just ended up like that. It's alto and tenor, um, but also like just the whole, uh, much like practicing, like you continue to progress as a record maker and an arranger and an engineer, and the sound of the saxophone on this album, the sound of the tenor and the alto are spectacular. I'll just say that. Like I'm so excited about that aspect. Every track, the representation of the horn is gorgeous.
Right.
So
You know, we had talked about Mike Brecker earlier, and I know he was very particular with his mics, and he would bring his own mics to the studio
right.
regardless, because he had a specific set of mics that he liked for certain things. Are you also very particular with your mics, and if so, what's the gear that you tend to favor?
So we talked about this on a sidebar before we delved into the interview. I love my 414 here, this AKG 414, which is at this point a classic. And the reason I like it is that um, I think it's first and foremost about the kind of sound that you're making. So everyone loves Neumann mics, and Neumann mics are great, but Neumann mics are thick, right? They add body. Sounds like a great thing. In my case, the natural sound has a lot of body. So when I play on a Neumann microphone that accentuates that, it's too much of that. This mic is much more reserved in those areas, has a little bit of top,
Yes.
which I like as a modern player, and in these contexts. So this microphone is a perfect match for the kind of things that I'm trying to do.
Right.
So
And of course, depending on the type of music you're playing, as well as what specific instrument, the microphones have a huge impact on the end result.
huge,
You
huge.
know, in classical music, it's standard. You know, if you get an old Neumann mic, you know, in a great recording scenario, you're in heaven.
Yeah,
It'd be like playing a Hamburg Steinway as compared to a more modern piano. I mean, yeah,
right.
exactly. But in more contemporary idioms, that mic, which was so magnificent in one idiom, might not transfer as well, and which
Correct.
I think is so important. Do you bring when you have been used as a sideman and a soloist? Did you tend to bring your own microphones to the studio?
No, no, I love, I didn't know that about Mike. That's a beautiful story. I love that he was able to rise to the position where he could do that and it had to be tolerated. So
Well,
that's
especially
fantastic, you know.
with
But
triple
yeah,
scale, I think
yeah. Well, I'm
it,
saying it's amazing that someone could get to that point and he did, and probably Dave Sanborn could do the same thing, or guys of that stature could come in with their own microphones, and the studio and engineer, the whole place would have to allow that. I didn't get that far, uh, so I don't bring microphones. I have opinions. Like I just did something last week for a well-known Japanese artist, and and the guy in Manhattan, and the engineer dialed up a spectacular tenor sound for the solo. We recorded as a horn section, then I played some solos afterwards, and I don't even remember what he was using. I don't remember what mic it was, but he dialed up a spectacular scenario, and I so I spoke to that. I said that's a fantastic tenor sound. For me, in my position, if it had gone the other way, and he had dialed up something that I thought was not a good saxophone sound, and this has happened, I say nothing. I
You-
say nothing.
That's
I,
an important piece of advice. If you're a sideman, knowing, boy, have
well,
I
that's yeah, that's me. That's my choice in that moment. And
really good advice, Andy, because I mean, I know from my own experience, you have to learn when to talk and when, and most importantly, when not to talk.
yeah, and even so, this is just my assessment of it. I'm pretty far along in this thing, but I'm not Michael Brecker, and my assessment is that I just have to go in there and play the best solo I can play, deal with the sound if it's not great, and it's out of my hands. And I'm not even going to make a comment. I'm not even going to say anything. I'm going to like it go. The solo leaves me, and it's now in the hands of these folks. And if that's their judgment, the sound that I hear, and so be it. And if it's, will I be bummed if it comes out on a record and sounds like that to a certain extent? Yeah, I will be. I will be. But that's my judgment that I'm not able to say anything in that moment. Me.
Well, in other words, if the employer is happy, end of story.
That right. That and it's just about my view of my own weight in this world,
Right.
right? Which is not it's not nothing, but it's not enough to do that. So
I
not
have
enough to do
just a
that.
little interesting anecdote to add before wanted to ask you the final questions. Uh,
Yeah.
Years ago, I was doing a show. The arranger was Billy Byers, great Billy Byers, and we ended up becoming friends after that show. I hadn't met him before that personally, but he had one night he had come in with a new chart and an arrangement that was so, I mean, it was so gorgeous. I couldn't believe it as it was happening. I was thinking, if I have to hear this every night, I think I'll be okay with this gig. This was so wonderful. It was a show where the producer was Blake Edwards.
Right.
Okay, his first foray into Broadway starred his wife Julie Andrews in the show Victor Victoria.
Right.
From the back, we finished playing it, and the conductor turned around to Billy and said, "Billy, you outdid yourself. This was magnificent." From the back of the auditorium, Blake Edwards yells, "Cut it!" And Billy walks up to the front. "Please, let me have the parts." I saw him the next day, and I said, "Billy, I don't know what to say. It was so beautiful. What did you do?" He said, I threw it out." I said, "You threw it out? It was unbelievable." He said, "I'm just a work for hire." And I'm thinking, this is the great Billy Byers, and he still had this view of himself. And this was toward the end of his life. He passed on maybe a year and a half later,
Right.
and he just said, "No, I'm a work for hire. They don't like it, fine." And of course, he could produce endless amount of great music, but it was a lesson in that no matter who you are, your position, you're still the employee. And
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
he didn't go fight him, and he just walked up, accepted it, took the music back, left.
That's professional grade. It's what you have to do.
Right.
So
He
I
still
could
understood that, even after all those years and all the renown it accumulated.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you stories about doing. I won't, not to go into the details about doing things that ended up on air, right, in television world where I'm standing in front of a microphone and I'm playing, and that microphone's not on. The microphone that's on is up in the corner, right, and I know something's wrong, and I'm going, this sounds terrible. But the room is filled with the producer and the people from the television show or network, and I get done playing, and everybody applauds, and oh my God, that was amazing, right? Like some Sanborni alto thing that was fantastic, and I'm going like, phew, do I love that? That I just played this solo, which was good, and it's going to go on air and be heard, and that the microphone picking it up was 7 feet away from me, pointing at the ceiling. No, but what are you going to do, right? Like that, all those people, they just expressed how happy they were. None of them were bothered with the alto sounds, just me, right? But it's this part of it. If you blow those things up, you're going to stop working. You blow that up. You make everyone in the room look like foolish, but more in particular, you make the audio people in the room who are being hired by the other people in the room. You make them look foolish. You're not coming back. So you can't do it. It's just
It's something you learn eventually or very quickly, but you
yeah.
have to learn it.
Yeah, yeah, you have to learn it if you want to keep working. And there are stories of, I mean, not this is a whole other subject, but we know stories of incredibly powerful, talented players that blew themselves up in those ways. Some version of that kind of story. They just couldn't
And
they couldn't do that.
even on a lesser level, if you're working, and since I have, I think, a good deal of young doublers hone in on this website, and you're doing gigs that are not, let's say, as prestigious or recording sessions or touring, but maybe you're just doing a show
Right.
or a single engagement, and there's something wrong, and let it be fixed by the others, unless they ask you.
Yeah, yeah, and then be polite and refined in the way you approach it, and don't make any other human being look bad because human beings don't like that, right? You don't like that, and other human beings don't like that. Nobody likes that. So
That applies to any type of work scenario.
yeah, absolutely. But
Let's end this a little bit, just talking about your equipment, your horns, and
yeah,
and to play mouthpieces, reeds, just because I know there are a lot of saxophone nerds checking this out, and I'm one of them. So I'd be curious to hear what you're playing these days and how you've evolved with your equipment over the.
cool, cool, good, absolutely. So I've got Jody Jazz mouthpieces on all the horns at this point, and I knew Jody. So when I played club dates, when I played weddings and bar mitzvahs, right back in the late '80s,
Sure.
Jody would go sub for me once in a while, and he had an apartment in Riverdale. He had a studio,
No, he
and
lived down the street from me actually. 'Cause I
so
was there for about 25 years.
okay. So just a quick story, and I'll continue. But at one point, he said, "Hey, we were young, right? We were in our 20s. He said, I'm making mouthpieces. I want you to stop over and check them out." So of course, you're skeptical on those sort of assertions, but I went over and kind of immediately saw that he was onto something. And um, anyway, so I've got his mouthpieces on all four of my horns. They're great. They're consistent, playable, do a lot of different things. So I play the DV 7 on tenor, play a DV 7 star on alto. I think that, or I have that backwards, 7 star on tenor. Anyway, uh, on soprano, I have that. It was Runyon blank that a red plastic or hard rubber soprano mouthpiece from
Yeah.
way back when, and that's not in his current line anymore. But I really like it. It's really delicate and beautiful and not bright. And then a DV also on baritone. And so interestingly, earlier in my tenor career, I played a link, and
Was it an older link or was it?
yeah, I had this link that could do pop music.
Huh.
It was nuts, and it could be a link, could do the link thing. But I in my early days of being a session musician, and also I think on my first solo album, there's a song that still gets airplay called "You've Changed" with Steve Gadd and Anthony Jackson in the rhythm section and me, and that was recorded on a link, and it sounds like pop tenor player, right? Like not super bright, but all but the right thing.
some of those links, people always think of the links, what Coleman Hawkins played, what Train played, as being, darker and, not with a higher baffle. But sometimes some of the links record brighter than you actually hear them in your head voice.
Right. So I had one of those somehow. I stumbled onto one of those, and then when you play a mouthpiece for a long time, it acclimates to you, you acclimate to it. Right. We became a marriage. And then I just played it out. I just killed it. Things warped, rails warped, and somebody worked on it. It wasn't the same, and that was it. And I played 100 links, Ed. I played 100 links and just couldn't find one that did that. That was it, right? I gave up. I gave up on the link thing. It's sad because, and this is no disrespect to any modern mouthpiece maker, but the link, like it comes with the vibe, right? It comes with its own vibe built in. Yeah, you got to do your thing, but it's got a character set built in. And Jody's mouthpieces are fantastic. I bring more of the character set to those mouthpieces. They're less. It's not a criticism. It's just that's the dynamic. They're less about that. That link was just
Work for you.
so.
And did you work with Jody on the mouthpieces that you've selected, having them sort of craft them to your desires?
No, I mean, enviably, like he'll just send me a bunch of them, and even in the age of computerized machining and all that, there's the hand filing aspect to it. So they're all different.
Everything. I mean, CDC machines are good to a point,
Right,
but
so he'll send me 8, and they're all different, and one of them will be my future wife, basically. Like I'm like that's it, and then as I mentioned earlier a second ago, you play it and it conforms to you. You become a unit. So that's generally how that works. But anyway, if not for killing that link, I might still play that link. But that's how that all evolved, basically, from the link to the Jody thing, because we knew each other. And on alto, I played a Dukoff in college. I had same kind of story. I had an unbelievable D8.
oh, yeah.
Unbelievable. It was sick,
Well, that
right?
was the Sanborn
Yeah.
of those days, and
So I mean, it was spectacular. And again, on my first solo album, there's a song called "The Shelter of Your Arms," which I play on alto, which is almost like a movie ballad kind of thing, like Sanborn cast in that. And you can check it out. Like the alto, it sounds spectacular. That mouthpiece sounds spectacular. Same thing. Things warped. Guy worked on it, was never the same. End of story. Never couldn't find another one.
right.
So Jody's mouthpiece is it's again and to its credit, the DV, I can do more things on that DV alto. I can play straight ahead much more credibly than I could on that Dukoff. And it does an absolutely good job of the Sanborn thing too. It's got like the middle 80% of the stylistic range in it, those mouthpieces. So reeds, super dull, orange box, Rico orange box guy on all the horns. And
It depends on the mouthpiece of the player. I mean, that people, get into this thing. Well, if it has to be a certain, like I play select jazz, D'Addario for alto, tenor. But I've recently, believe it or not, started enjoying playing Rico Royals on alto. I mean, which I did when I was 12 or 13 or something like that. But I found out, if you seal them up and, just don't abuse them the first few days and let them have a chance to acclimate, but yeah, I really like the sound on those too. And so, some reeds may cost a little more than others, but that has nothing to do with what's going to work for you.
absolutely, there's something about the way the orange box breaks in terms of me making like that, the kind of modern sound that I make.
Right.
The way they break in, the way they compress somehow, it's part of it.
Right.
And when I use any other reed, the same thing doesn't happen. It's still me, but that thing that makes it work, that makes me feel
Right.
powerful about it and makes the expression possible, it's got to be the orange box. So
Right.
it's
It's funny.
not
Yeah.
that's not what D'Addario doesn't want me to say that, right? They want me to say something else, but that's the truth, you
Yeah,
know.
I
So
mean, it's changed, and and things change over the years as the cane changes. Like on clarinet, I always played Van Doren's. I played Moray Reeds for a while in the '70s, and Van Doren's for probably the next 50 years. And recently, in the last year, I've been playing this small French company called Donzi. And it was great. And now even they're changing now. It is so. I mean, things cane changes, climate change
yeah,
affects the earth and the mineral content of the
yes,
soil. And I mean, so things change, and you just have to, I think, be open to
yeah.
playing the less than what most people play sometimes.
All I react to is my thing firing off. Like I have an intimate relationship with the cocktail that makes the me thing, right? My thing. And if it's happening, cool. If it's not happening, not cool. And so, I mean, I don't care how expensive or fashionable or fancy or anything about any of it. Honestly, like if I can't get to that proper expression, then it's all for naught. So back to the voice, right? Like
Yeah.
speaking in my voice, I know when that's operating and I know when it's not. That is the entire goal.
Right.
So
Right. And what are the horns that you tend to favor on alto?
so I've got Mark sixes, other than the baritone, I have a P Moriat baritone because the baritone comes out every once in a while at home. If I'm doing something, at home for somebody I'm not going to take the baritone and play it on a session because we're going to be stopping a lot. No, but I dabbled with the endorsing other horns, without going into who or what manufacturers, and it just at the end of the day, the six for me, it's got that sports car thing. It's got the right combination of powerful and nimble, um, substantial and yet like quick and reactive. That that that's that's what works. And I know guys love balance. They like different things for different. In my lane, for me, it's the six is the win.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
unequivocal.
I have found obviously the six for alto and tenor have always been my thing. I've always, and then, in more recent decades, I've also super balanced action on alto and tenor I have as well. And even more recently on alto, the Phil Woods Yamaha, uh, has served another purpose. So but yeah, I mean, the saxophone has so many voices and so much flexibility. And as you become aware of all the possibilities, it's an endless journey, it seems.
Absolutely, absolutely. And to be fair, I should say, like, I worked for a bit with this company in the UK called Trevor James,
Oh,
and they would get horns from Asia and then work on them, improve them, and tweak them in the UK and fix things that need to be fixed. And those horns sound fantastic, right? Like from a sound basis and expression basis, 100%. I don't know if it's a Springs thing, or about the six. I really don't know what it is, but the the speed thing. If I have to play fast, like really really fast, keys coming back, staying with me, right? Just things being nimble. Somehow, only the six can do that. So I'll say there are other. I've played other saxophones that sound really good, but that Porsche thing, that sports car
yeah,
thing,
I
only
actually,
the six.
I think I understand that feeling. I actually still have that on the alto because I love this Yamaha that I play, and I probably play it more than the six these days. But there is that feeling on the six, the ergonomic thing, and also just the way the pearls feel in your hands, the spacing, and like you said, it doesn't have this clunky thing. It has this sort of a beautiful situation of coming back, which even the super balance, and I have a very late super balance on tenor, which is I love, but ergonomically, the six, I think, especially the early days of the Six, maybe the first 50, 60,000 or whatever. There was something there that they arrived at, I think, and again, it's hard for me to put it into words, but I know that feeling that you're describing, Andy, and I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, you're making me remember. It's like the later parts of the Paul Simon touring in like maybe like 2015, 16, 17. And on Billy Joel, I think I had other horns out. And then when Paul, he's since unretired, but when he retired, I started working with Chris Bodie. And part of that gig was playing really fast, like playing straight ahead at 260 or 300. And those horns wouldn't do that, right? I mean, there's my limitations in that, certainly, yeah, of course, right? But the horn wasn't helping me. Where the six is, kind of casting the best case scenario for me to try to do that, right? So
Yeah.
it's
So you have sixes on alto, tenor, and
and
soprano.
soprano, yeah, yeah. And I'd have one on baritone, but like I said, it just doesn't. That's an expensive instrument, and I'm hacking away on the thing. There's no no mistaking me for Ronnie Huber. There's no reason for me to have a Mark Six baritone. So anyway.
Anyway, well, look, it's been a great opportunity to speak with you and share these thoughts, and I really do appreciate it and taking the time to do so.
That's my pleasure. Absolutely.
I hope it does help our listeners, especially again, my priority in trying to help younger players get some of the information that they might not get otherwise, or maybe even at school, and open some eyes, and also, have some people hear you who might not have been aware of how much music you have produced as a solo artist, and
Somehow it snuck up on me, but it's a lot, isn't it, at this point? So, uh,
any idea, by the way, when this latest album of yours might be coming out?
well, it's I won't delve too much into it, but it's a quick sidebar. So the Spotify now is running how everything gets released. So without sinking into all of it, if you want to do the best job of promoting your material in the Spotify ecosphere, you have to do it song by song, song by song. So I'm going to release song by song at some point early in the new year. I don't know, maybe 6, 7 tracks off the album, and then release the album. And you can do one per month in this Spotify realm that I'm talking about. So I'm going to put them out one a month. And then even though the album will be ready in the early part of the year, I'll actually release the album in the fall.
I see.
And that's all because if you want to play the Spotify game well, that's how you have to do that. That's back to the business part of this, and knowing
And how
and
much things have
understanding what's going on, yeah, and how much things have changed, right? So
changed. Believe it or not, they're doing the same thing in the classical realm, orchestrally releasing one movement at a time.
unbelievable, yeah.
Like, what world are we in now?
It's all. I mean, without delving into all, but it's all how they allow for promotion within their own atmosphere, because everything is about getting playlisted. Everything is about your track ending up on an algorithmic or editorial playlist that it's either managed by AI or managed by a human being. And you get on those playlists, you get a lot more exposure. You don't get on those playlists, you get a lot less exposure.
Right.
But that, without going into it, that demands the one at a time thing. That requires the one at a time thing, which is insane. So I mean, what you're telling me about classical music, they're releasing one, it shouldn't be, man. It shouldn't be. I would love to just put my album out, put the work out, 10 songs, but I'm not going to do it that way because you're shooting yourself in the foot in the modern business. So
Right. Especially when you're doing all of the work that a record company used to do, and you are the record company,
that's right. That's right.
so you have no choice. Yeah.
You have no choice.
Yeah.
So it goes. But anyway, so over the course of 2026, the album will come out dribs and drabs.
All right.
And
We'll be
you'll
looking.
see it. It
I'll,
will. It will ever.
I'll try to keep the when our video actually is posted, and as the tracks come out, I'll try to add to the text accompanying it so people will.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that.
All right, Andy. Well, hang on a bit after we finish, and
I will.
and thank you again for everything. And again, thank you for listening, and we hope you'll come back next time to hear more at joffreywoodwinds.com. Thank you.